think we can start. Oh, yeah. I think I should unmute you, right? You unmute yourself.
And you need to, yes, you have to enable me to share the screen.
One second. Yeah, you can share the screen. No?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Yes. Okay, can everyone see this now?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. This is okay, ma'am.
Yeah, you can share
Just a
your,
second.
your screen
Yeah.
not visible. Please share your screen.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm trying. There's something happened. I just went and refreshed it. Yeah, so we're like talking about what all comorbid conditions occur along with autism. Just mentioned a few. Epilepsy is very most frequent thing that we see. Sleep disorders and disturbance. This is like a byproduct of autism by such. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder, gastrointestinal disorders, feeding or eating challenges, obesity, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. Also, few genetic disorders also like Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome. These are also a part of ASD and comorbid condition, of which Down syndrome and epilepsy is what we'll be dealing in brief before we will go into further session. First, epilepsy, autism and epilepsy. Seizures. Epilepsy is a multiple form of seizure. We all know seizures are the abnormal electric firing from the brain and is the most common neurological complication of ASD. Epilepsy, that means recurrent seizures, is quite common and 20 to 30% of people with ASD have epilepsy. Seizures are also most common in children under 5 years and in teenagers. Also, there is some genetic relationship between seizures and ASD. Now, there's another thing that we can say is sometimes it's often difficult to diagnose whether the child is having autism or is having epilepsy. The reason is because there is overlapping of symptoms. Few of the epileptic seizures resemble that of the nature or symptoms of ASD or autism in particular. So there this confusion occurs. Similar to there are chances for misdiagnosing epilepsy in patients who are having autism. Like also there is this overlapping happening. So some commonality in the brain abnormalities associated with ASD as well as the epilepsy. Now, according to some research, electrical activities in the brains of children with autism show epileptic discharges more often than in people without ASD. Same like I said before, children with epilepsy are more likely to develop autistic traits. Now, is there any particular type or particular seizure that we have different categorization of epilepsy associated with ASD? No, there is no one such type of seizure in ASD. The seizures can be focal or generalized. It includes focal onset impaired awareness. There's a basic knowledge. Again, I'm going to briefly say absence, tonic, clonic, anatonic, etc. Now, the important thing as a physician is what are the signs that we should look into? It may be difficult to recognize seizure activity in ASD because of the communication barriers that overlap. Now, there are this cognitive delay, impaired social interactions, and aggressive and irritable behavior seen both. Like I said, the symptoms overlap, which is the reason why we may misdiagnose sometimes. And also, it's very difficult to diagnose. Also, we may skip it. We may think, oh, if the child is having only epilepsy, or oh, the child is having only autism, or else the child has to have a proper type of seizure, complete epilepsy. Now, the red flags to note for seizures: tearing episodes, which could be signs of absence or atypical absence of seizures; stiffening, which could be a sign of tonic seizures. This is the child if a child is autistic. The symptoms that I'm saying is for the child who is autistic or who is suffering from autism. Rhythmic shaking or twitching, which could be a sign of focal aware or simple partial seizures. Loss of attention, complex partial seizures. So these are the red flags which we can identify if a child who is suffering from autism is showing either one of these symptoms, and we can be doubtful, and we can further go for management or diagnosis through EEG. Medical evaluation by brain imaging and EEG. Now, epilepsy usually for mainstream of medicine, they don't see like a same as a patient as a whole. For them, epilepsy will go, and the treatment is, has the treatment protocol that they have to follow for the epilepsy. They do that, and autism is treated with along with other system of medicines and other branches of medicines together to manage autism. This is one like for us. This we will be discussing further. Now, in particular, when we are dealing with children who are having epilepsy, certain safety measures or guidelines should be given to the parent or those who are looking after them. They should be these are basically for those who are having toddlers, which we can say when as a patient comes or the parent is worried what to do, what not to do. These are the basic common thing which we say, which I've just put in bullet points. We need let them know that they should not restrain the child. For the normal child, itself we have a tendency to restrain when the child is having epilepsy. But it is more important that they don't do that for an autistic child because they're already hypersensitive with that aspect. So, common knowledge, have to remove large areas, to turn the child on or her side, to ensure nothing is there, to avoid choking, to learn more on first aid things. Now we'll discuss about autism and Down syndrome. Down syndrome, as basic, all of us know, it is trisomy 21. 23 pairs of chromosomes we have, 20 is extra, 21st chromosome, so the total number becomes 47. And that abnormality, that genetic extra, that genetic imbalance causes the changes in facial features, the development delays, intellectual disability, poor muscle tone, many congenital heart disease, vision problems, all these stuff. Down syndrome is quite easily identified by tests during pregnancy with amniocentesis. Sometimes if we are not able to identify these things by birth during physical features itself, we are able to understand, or not, if we can go for a test note where cell karyotype can be done to find out whether DNA is having this trisomy 21st. How common is Down syndrome in children with autism spectrum? So here, this I would like to tell you before I show you. Now, this is those children who are having Down syndrome, statistically, they're of much lesser number. So if we say the Down syndrome, the children who are affected with Down syndrome and autism, calculation, it varies perception-wise. That is, only a small number of children with ASD suffer from Down syndrome, because ASD in particular is common for all, and Down syndrome per ratio is less. 1 in 1,100 birth. But on the contrary, children who are having Down syndrome, in them the percentage of autism is higher. like I said, perception, right? From which angle you're observing. So if I'm observing from a child who's having Down syndrome and that group of parents and patients, then we have chances of 40% of them to have been autistic in one way or mild, moderate, or high level can be seen. Our focus more or less will go to that perception. Now, how does that manifest? Which stage we can expect the manifestation as a physician? Three scenarios. First, within 15 to 18 months of the age, we can see the Down child who's suffering from Down syndrome. Like I said, I'm not talking about ASD suffering from Down syndrome. I'll be speaking from the perception of Down syndrome child being affected from with autism. Now, this child who was having Down syndrome was born with Down syndrome by between 15 to 18 months start to show some characteristic symptoms of autism, that is lack in social communication skills and all, and irrestricted movement or some repetitive movement. That's all visible initial stages. Second scenario is till say 18 to 24 months, like how gender is happening, 3 to 6 years, no change. The child is only seen as Down syndrome, but there's a slow transition towards or regression may come later on towards autism after this period. So that's the second scenario. We can't identify in the beginning, but on the later stage, we can see the signs and symptoms. The third one the scenario is when the child who's having Down syndrome is also having seizures of epilepsy, infantile spasms. So now will not be thinking the child is having autism. The point comes when we are giving treatment for the infantile spasms. Spasms have reduced, but the primary symptom of the communication problem or the lack of attention or the staring episodes, all those things still remains. There, the third scenario comes that the child is actually having autism and infantile spasm is part of that comorbidity. Suppose I am clear to most of you. Now, what are the signs one should look for? Not for the first scenario. I most would like to focus this for second and third scenarios. The child has stopped learning new signs or using speech. There is change in the child's behavior or development. He's happy. The child who was even the Down syndrome children, if you most of us know, they are not like they would like to play alone. If they're very comfortable in social group, but those children are or the child is have has shown changes where he or she would like to play alone, and no one else is there, and he's happy doing that. There, these signs should be taken note of. He's constantly staring at the lights and some particular thing obsessively. Sleep disturbances have started, and the most key point that makes our attention or catches our attention, self-injurious behaviors they'll see. Hyperactivity is common. That's also the same for them. For these children, goals vary. Common for all, actually. We have to improve the quality of life, optimize independence, facilitate communication, improve social interaction, relatedness. Education is where we have to look into it because eventually we have to make them self-reliant and self-independent. So the task type of behavioral approach is what we aim and what we should push the parents and the child to cope up with. Adaptive living skills and manage behavior. Now we'll come to our session home living management. This I speak for myself, if I may so. It has been a challenge to understand, but I found that with many people who also agree, maybe my pair, yes, it is a challenge for homeopathy to identify which is the medicine that will go, which all steps we should follow. I come from classical homeopathy background. I'm an alumni of the Government Homeopathy Medical College, Trivandrum. So we have been throughout the college been taught on only a classical Hahnemannian approach. Once we came out there, we were given or exposed to very different streams. I can't say right or wrong and effective. But here, in particular for autism, most of the books, personal experience, mine and my peers, I've seen that the hardcore Hahnemann approach has been very useful. Like we all say for Hahnemann approach, the whole system, the whole picture, drug picture comes. Most important, vaccines. The history of vaccines have played a lot of key relevance when autism diagnosis has to be taken out, whether for the child or for the parent. Family medical history, thermal sensitivity, sleep postures, their insecurities and fixations. Now, also the another thing is we say particular thing, characteristic, peculiar symptom. When an autistic child experiences stress, they have their own reaction. That reaction is the key. And the real challenge for the parent, if the child is not is inarticulate, not verbally communicating, to tell us that particular peculiar thing, or for us as a physician to elicit that case symptom or peculiar symptom of that child suffering from autism, because that reaction has will act as a catalyst for us to find the correct constitutional remedy. Understanding the patient rather than the condition, which Hahnemann had always said, constitutional approach. Now comes the man's side. Before I say this, I know there are many senior doctors out there, but it's been a journey for me. It's been a journey for me to understand about miasm in particular. Even for during the college years, I found it quite difficult to understand the concept of miasm. Once I understood the crux of miasm, I found it very difficult to apply. I used to get confused. Now, after say 12 years of experience, where I have made a lot of mistakes, learned, fallen, I have a bit of image. I have found out that when we are taking a case, we have a tendency to pick onto the symptoms intuitively. I'm speaking personally, and that may be only meant in general. Then we have to consciously be the next thing that we take is that of psychotic symptoms or somatic symptoms. But for in any case, the first symptom that we have to know, most of those who are experienced, they know this. It is syphilitic. Syphilitic symptom is what we should take in any particular case, especially conditions like autism or any deep-rooted condition. Now, this is what I follow. So I found out, and I've given you the references for that also. According to Dr. Luc Deschapelle, founder Renaissance Institute of Classical Homeopathic Cambridge, common symptoms of ASD or points to syphilitic inherited miasm. In other words, any disease that involves the destruction of tissues is syphilitic in nature. So in the family history, if you take it, most probably, and according to we will find expressions of this any of this miasm on any of the levels in either parent, family, or child. The consequence is the homeopath must choose as the minimum a remedy that has a great anti-syphilitic characteristics. Any other remedy will be simply palliative, even more suppressive. So giving false hope to parents and homeopath alike. Why? Because once the symptoms get suppressed, it is very common and very natural for any homeopath who based upon somebody's audio is unmuted. It's a lot of disturbance for me. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Yeah. So once it gets suppressed, it's very difficult to say whether it has been suppressed or not, unless you're very, very highly experienced. I'm not speaking for those doctors, but for those who are, for most of us, once the symptom gets suppressed, we feel that we have cured the condition, or we have, attained relief, or given relief to the patient. But unless and until it is anti-syphilitic characteristic-based prescription in the starting for the selection of constitutional remedy, we can be sure that we must have, now we can be sure that we have given a palliative thing or suppressed the condition and not cure has started. Why? Now comes the person whom I actually follow. So according to Dr. Praful Vijayakar, in ASD, everything that is destructive and out of control is clearly syphilitic. From heavy emotional outbursts aggressive behavior like biting or striking of oneself or others. This has to go first from a child who is suffering from autism, which will in turn cause the patient to get into normal behavior and the ability for communication with eyes or words. That once that is attained, the person has come out of the syphilitic miasm and has entered the next stage, which we need to work upon, that is psychotic. That is what about the repetitive motion or restricted thing that we are saying, that imitating, constant repetition, these all falls under psychotic miasm. So after that destructive thing, the psychotic has to go away. Third, now restlessness, hyperactivity will come. This is very common. That actually is a soric symptom. Now, this is the first primary cause which makes the parent wonder what is wrong with my child. That he's become very restless, he's very hyperactive, he doesn't sit in one place. Or fine, that's good because it's just the sora place. But the child coming to the next stage, that is constantly repeating something, or there is a repeated pattern, something psychotic. Now, the third stage, that is the deeper stage of syphilitic miasm, it comes into harmful, self-injurious, oneself or to others. According to this, they absolutely have to reappear at the end of the healing process. Anyway, the parent comes and complains, oh, he was way before silent, at least it was injurious. I know it was difficult, but it was not so restless or something. We need to do something for that. No, some medicine has gone wrong. My child has again become restless. This all thing had happened in the past, again has come back. We all know it's not, we are not supposed to do anything. We are not supposed to repeat anything at that point of time, because that is a soric miasm that has started to manifest, which is the last one which should be manifested, and no medicinal intervention is required to pass on. Most probably, and intervention, if required, should be taken on the later date after some time of observation. In treating autism, Dr. Vijay also emphasizes the importance to find out the soric need of the person. That elicitation is the beauty of what the physician has to do with interaction with the patient. Especially in these cases, it is essential for finding the right remedy. Find out whether it is a love or safety or esteem that the child wants from the parent, surrounding, aware of this, which is the basic need of the person in life. That is the final key to unlock. I suppose I'm clear with the myself. Now I took a bit of prologue for that because of my confusion, myself, and now my complete clearance in that aspect. And I believe I've tried to communicate and give clarity to most of the youngsters who are, I hope, are there. Now the potency selection. I personally felt that LM potency is the best. So we can give repetitive frequency and it's under our control. The very less the exacerbation or the aggravations are very hardly there, to be honest. We can arrest them before that. A slight change in the symptom is visible and we can stop it. So in this scale, the homeopathic medicines act fast and gentle. However, if suppose some acute conditions are coming with epilepsy, and all, since we are taking epilepsy here, we have to go with the lower potencies and the medicine particular selected to that particular point for suitable for that condition or attack. And then we can follow it up with our constitutional medicine. I've just listed out the common medicines for ASD and I'm not giving detail because I thought this is going to be a very extensive PPT. So these are the common medicines that we can give as a constitutional, as an acute attack of epilepsy is happening. And if you want, I can just name it for the purpose: carcinosin, ethusa, lycopodium, stramonium, pulsatilla, ignatia, phosphorus, tarantula, calcaraca. And I can share with one particular very difficult thing, that case that I had solved. I tried a lot of constitutional medicines. It couldn't work. And I did something which I'll tell you coming up slide. Now these are the medicines that we can give for Down syndrome. Not exactly Down syndrome, along with autism also. I don't want to specifically categorize, but since I was writing, I wrote it like this. If you need an explanation, I don't think I have time now for each I think Dr. Rekha ma'am can only say how much time is left. So I'm just reading out the name.
Yeah, no, you
What all
can
the
go
medicines
ahead.
are.
Another 10 minutes
Okay.
is there.
Okay, ma'am. So, but still, I don't think I can give explanation to all the drugs. Um,
Yeah, that we will
let me
keep a
see.
one separate session.
Yeah. So I'll just read out this. So, well, I'll say that particular case I shall share, and I think medicines you all can see, which a common thing that we can use. So the medicine which I had used primarily constitutional medicine or something else, but what the important thing is I use a no sode. No sode, surprisingly, that was the case, but I found I had a very good effect on the treatment and the prognosis of that patient. I'd used merorinum for that child, and after that, intercurrent medicine was used actually to improve the immunity and to clear of the system and the symptoms. The child showed a tremendous improvement in her symptoms, and now if you can do the grading, she is much better and doesn't have much of the primary autistic syndrome, and is pretty much they're planning to shift into the normal school after the tests where they'll get clear. I think Dr. Anupama will be able to tell that more clearly. So nosols are also there. Few of the nosols I've already mentioned, tuberculum, carcinosis. These are a very, very good as a constitutional medicine per se to be given for children who are autistic. Symptoms wise, it's too much. I've prepared a thing, but I don't think for 10 minutes be easy. I'll be doing not justice for that. So these are the references and the articles that I've gone through to prepare this. When the slides have been shared, you can get through it. Now, the highest ideal of cure, like our handmaid says, the speedy, gentle, and enduring restoration of health by the most trustworthy and least harmful way. I think I'm end of my session. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you
Yes,
repeat
ma'am.
that slide,
Okay.
medicine slide once again? Just share
Okay.
it to see.
Sure. I'll just do that. Which one you, ma'am? From the common medicines or just show it?
Medicines,
Okay. Yeah,
yes.
common
This
medicine.
was the
Okay.
first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Can you repeat the whole slide of autism? Actually, I have came in between of the webinar.
May I know your
may I know?
names, please, so that I can.
No, actually,
Hello.
we will have the recording so that you can see the all the whole thing again. Now we will concentrate on whatever questions you have. We'll have the both the sessions YouTube. We will share it later.
Okay,
Yeah,
then please share the YouTube link also
Sure.
in the
yeah,
group.
sure. Yeah. May I know who is speaking?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, your name, doctor. I will share it.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. For Dr. Divya, again I am telling the same thing. We will share the whole proceedings. I will send the link, YouTube link. You can see the from the beginning. You can see. Yeah, please. Okay,
Do
ma'am.
you need? I mean, I'm sorry. Who's the first doctor who has asked for sharing the medicine? Should I change?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
next slide.
we'll see.
May I know your name, please, doctor?
I'm Dr. Remya.
Oh, Dr. Ramya.
Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
have
sorry.
a
Since I'm sharing the
screenshot
screen, I
as
can
well.
see.
Yeah, screenshot as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
I will
I'm
share
sorry,
with
doctor.
you. Not issue. Yeah. And now we'll have maybe another.
Somebody was trying to ask a question.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
that's what.
Yeah, doctor,
Please.
I'm asking.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah. I think
Dr.
Anjali.
Shalini
Yeah.
and Dr.
Bola,
Anjali.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have mentioned about potency and the
Yes,
medicines
ma'am.
that the ASD with the Down syndrome. So
Yes, ma'am.
how repeatedly we can give, we must give or we can give that 1M potency, ILM also.
No, no. Ma'am, repetition is always subjective to the condition.
Yeah.
I can't see you. Like, let me see whether who speaker mode. Some seems to view. Okay. Fine. So, ma'am, repetition we can't say. There's no particular protocol. Unfortunately, the same is applicable for the potencies also. The repetition is based upon how the individual patient, individual case is responding. I may repeat LM potency say for 1 week or 2 weeks you start taking, and I may see some changes and I'll monitor the potency, I'll monitor the frequency. For the same time, there may be some patients who may not show any change or much of the changes for next 1 month or so. So it is varying. We can't particularly say these many numbers you have, times you have. At least my experience, I couldn't know.
Yeah, exactly. That individualization will be there, but
Yes.
sometimes, like how you mentioned, we don't see any changes. So how frequently we can that potency wise we can change? Yeah, we have to stick with the same potency.
Yeah, ma'am, I'll say what I do. What I do is I'll see, say about usually, in my case, usually with 15 to 20 days when I observe if there is any certain signs of changes in any feeding pattern or gastrointestinal version or sleep pattern, anywhere if I'm able to see a change, I try to go with the same potency. I don't try to change the potency. Like I said, it varies. Okay, if I don't see a change in potency, say about 1 to 2 months, 1 month maximum, I may retake the case to see whether I have, fallen short or looked out into some symptoms. And even if after the retaking of the case, my medicine appropriation is coming with the same thing, then I may change the potency. Okay, ma'am? I'm actually not able to see you. That's the, yes, thank you, ma'am. So that's the reason I'm just reading.
Yeah, hope that was helpful.
Very
I'm sorry?
helpful, very helpful.
I'm sorry, I'm
Especially
saying.
Yeah, your
so
voice is
your
getting
very
cut. Continue.
informative slides and your speech also. Yeah, especially epilepsy and with
Yes, ma'am.
ASD. Really, very, very informative. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Dr. Ma'am, Dr. Anjali ma'am. It's been a pleasure.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, hello.
Hi, ma'am.
Other
Hello.
questions?
I'm
Yeah,
Dr.
please,
Dhanya.
Dr. Danya, please.
Okay.
Are you from Tanya Shenoy?
No,
Shashidhar.
Dhanya Shashidharan.
I'm just trying to find you because I don't
Yeah,
know
from
I'm
home
from
group.
Ernakulam.
Yes, please. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Ma'am, can you please explain management of epilepsy?
Yeah, you want me to share the slide
No,
No.
better you
or you
explain
want to explain?
verbally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, see, my management of epilepsy, I have said for homeopathic management of epilepsy, I've shown you a few of the medicines. Constitutional medicines only we have to do. But which management are you speaking about? The EEG thing that we have to take and the constitutional medicine or the guidelines that we have given?
No, at the clinic, if a patient gets a seizure or epileptic convulsions while consulting, how can we manage that case?
We have to give an acute
On the
remedy
spot.
for that basis and the lower potency. You can't do for constitutional
Okay, and the
medicine.
lower
And
potency, then?
yes, and we have to make this, you want to know the proper management. We have to just make the patient lie.
Yes.
Make the patient lie on the ground, head not completely back. Make sure the tongue is not bitten. So you can keep a handkerchief or to roll it and between the teeth so that they don't bite the tongue. Don't try to push the patient, push it out, like restrict the patient.
Oh.
No, but
Yes.
make sure the patient is away from any hard or injurious surfaces, or they have space for if it is a total spasmodic seizures they are having. That is how proper seizures is happening inside there. Give the acute remedy. You can give a two-way olfaction method, or if it's possible, you can give to mouth also. Put the drop. I give you olfaction once or twice.
Thank you, ma'am. May I? Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, less than 1 minute is there. Sorry, it gets cut. Yeah, you please carry on.
One more.
Yeah, please.
Okay, one more
I
doubt.
okay, I got chats
Uh,
also, I think so. Yeah.